Okay, great. Welcome to Cloud Data Driven. Ronan, could you mute everyone else except me because there are some noise, some background noise.
Me bumbleclat.
Give me a second. I will just invite everyone.
Cool. We are about to get started very soon. It will be a very fun demo. At the end of this presentation, I am overconfident you will love it because anytime when I present this session, it's a huge thank you. And here's the thing, it's more about cost of optimization and architectural pattern. So I will walk you through that case. It's based on a project that I work with a client and I just optimize it and wanted to share that with the community. So I think I can proceed. Ronen, am I correct?
Yep, you can
Perfect.
proceed. Unmuted.
Great. One more time, team. Welcome to Cloud Data Driven Online User Group Meeting. If this is your first time, let me walk you through our platform. Okay, in here, if you go to datadrivencommunity.com, so this is where everything is happening. So in here, you can register. We have Feature Data Driven, which is a yearly conference, and we also have Cloud Data Driven. For Cloud Data Driven, we are on Meetup. If you want to follow us or you want to share our community with your peers, we also on Eventbrite. In case if you want to follow us on Eventbrite and share that with your community as well. And you know we are fall under Microsoft community. If you don't mind, you are free to visit Azure Data Tech community. In there, you will see the entire user group. So you are free to join anything local or online. Our community is being organized by 4 of us, but now we are 3. We have Wonen. Let me go here. We have Wonen. He is the head of this community. If you have any questions related to speaking, to content related, I highly suggest you reach out to Wonen and Dipti. I have no word to express the level of quality of work Dipti is delivering. She is very active, not only to our user group, but to a tons of other user group. And if you would like to connect with either one, like Wonen or Dipti, all you have to do is to click on LinkedIn. And me, I will go over myself, but I'm the founder of this community and co-organizer. For the last two years, Wonen is the primary person. So great. Enough about us. We mainly focus on data, AI, and visualizations. So here's the thing. That's me over here, okay? For those of you that don't know me, my name is Jean-Joseph. This is a French name, but not 100% French because I'm Haitian. You may notice that I have an accent. The accent is a Creole accent. I highly suggest you to get used to it because I'm about to share tons of information with you. And I also want you to be able to follow me. If you want to connect with me, you are free to scan this. So the intent is to show you the advantage of knowing your underlying data statistic, how you can help organization or your organization save tons of money. I'm about to show you this, but before let me go over myself. Okay, I work for I work for Tech Insight Group. as a principal data and AI architect. I'm an independent consultant. I've been in IT for about 22 years. I started my career as a network administrator. Then I moved to database administration and development. Then after that, I moved to data engineering and data and machine learning engineering. When I joined Microsoft, AI happened to be part of my duty. I quickly put myself on it and get deeply familiar with the generative AI and help a tons of customers. So now, um, uh, if you ask me what I do, I help organizations build scalable and secure data and AI platform using Fabric, Databricks, Azure SQL in terms of Postgres, in terms of SQL Server, and so on, and along with Microsoft Copilot Studio. Great. And I actively blogging, and I'm a community speaker as well, and also mentoring. I do that a lot. Cool. Perfect. So let's go more over, in case if you never heard of Tech Insight Group, Tech Insight Group is a consulting and training services. If there is any need for your organizations to do short-term or long-term contract, we can partner together. And also, if you want to upscale your team, I highly suggest you to go and join and reach out to Tech Insight Group. And the best way you can do that is to go type Tech Insight Group. Okay, this is our website. You type it, Tech Insight Group, and then if you want to go over our blog, we have a tons of blogs. We have, you can go over the type of services we're offering and learn more about us. For your information, we are a Microsoft partner in terms of data and AI. You can learn more about that right here, as you can see. Perfect. So you know a little bit about me, okay? So let's dive into our main topic. So here's the thing, Tim. This is the current legacy design the customer has when they call me. The thing is, they are using the generative AI and have Postgres as the backend data, right? So what happened? This work as expected, but cost happened to be a big deal. So because cost is a big deal, so they were looking for a solutions, right? That's the time one of my peers referred them to me. And then when I sat with them to understand and pinpoint the root cause of the issue, and I asked them this question, okay, what is the nature of your data set? Is it largely static or is it largely dynamic? Because when we're looking at, for example, sorry about that, when we're looking at this architecture, it is great if the data is dynamic. So what do I mean by that? Remember, if the data is dynamic, each time when a user sent a request, the underlying statistic of that data change. So with that, we have to make sure we handle that. But in that client case, 95% of the data will not get updated once the data has been submitted. So I sat with them and I designed something very simple, and they didn't believe me because it was mainly SQL. And I built one interface that I'm about to show with you to have them test it. When they tested, and they were able to save 87% of costs. 87. Consider if they used to pay 100 monthly, now they are paying $13 monthly, and it was a huge saving for the company. You probably saw a post where they tag Tech Insight Group and along with my name, and it's a big company. So this is the same thing that I'm about to show you. It is simple. When I say simple, once I'm done, you will see it. It's just a matter of knowing the nature of your data and understanding the services that are available to you and then make a judgment. Okay. So perfect. With that, I will have to go over the Azure Postgres with you, explain to you what Microsoft has to offer, and then I'll go over how can you do the integration yourself. And the good thing is you don't need to be an expert in terms of front end. It's all SQL. Okay, and then we're gonna build this. Moreover, I'll go over the consideration. Perfect. So here's the thing: as Postgres will be the backend of the data, right? So what Azure has to offer. In terms of Postgres, Azure has three options. The first option is the flexible server. You see this one? It is great if you need to migrate into, okay, you want to do a lift and shift of your legacy Postgres from on-premise or from any Azure VM or any cloud VM into Azure. So the flexible server is great. Not only for migration, consider if you're creating a scalable brand new application that will heavily rely on Postgres extension for customizations, the flexible server is amazing, great in terms of high availability, cost effectiveness, and so on. But there are cases where latency matter. And if your application is global, your latency can impact, performance will impact, right? So how can we have Postgres and still provide a planet scale performance? This is where, for example, Azure Cosmos DB for Postgres comes in. It is native, by the way, and it is a planet scale. Anytime when you have a large data set, the data is structured because, for a long time, Cosmos DB used to be a simulation of API for NoSQL, okay? So now it is with last, so now for the last 2 or 3 years. So if the need is to build a scalable planet scale Postgres database, I highly suggest you to take advantage of Azure Cosmos DB. If you work for financial company or government or healthcare where PII or law and regulation force you to host that data in your own internal data center, can Azure still assist you? Yes, you can rely on what we call Azure Arc Enable. So we're not going to spend too much time here. Our focus would be on the flexible server. What exactly is that flexible server, right? What can you get out of it? First of all, it is cost optimizations because you pay for what you use, right? Second, if you know you will be using it for the next 5 years, you can reserve it. And the good thing is you can stop and start it as you will, right? And if you need credit, they have a possible compute, right? That is very, very great for your workload that require extra performance, right? So now, here's the thing. We have Postgres. The question is, what can we do with it? Right? So if we have to chat on that data, context matter, past interactions matter, and also LLM has been trained on public data sets. So what do I mean by? They use public data like internet data, right? They compress it into a vector embedding context. That's what allows you to do the token predictions, right? So now, therefore, we can augment our informations that's stored on Azure PostgreSQL as extra context to large language model. We can even design or implement what would I say, an agent that's specifically dedicated to interact with your private data, and that agent can be the bridge for your application agent, right? Moreover, because the information is already on Azure by itself, you can provide real-time recommendation in terms of products. Great. So now, how can we get started? there are two things you have to understand. The first thing you need to understand is the services. So what do I mean by that? So you first have to come and provision on Azure a Postgres. And to do this, if you go to Azure portal, you search for you type Postgres, and then you will notice that we have Postgres Flexible Server. So all you have to do, you click on this one, but things you have to understand, size matter. Based on that size, it will they have different computes here. You select what best fits you. Second, in terms of high availability, disaster recovery, you pick that yourself. Okay. So once this is done, you have to go to that server and you will need to search for Azure AI extension. You see this one? The Azure AI extension. So once you click here, there will be a drop down. You have to enable Azure AI, and also you have to enable the vector. Okay, so what exactly is this vector? Right? This vector is an extension that Postgres supported. This extension allows you to create a data type. When I say a data type, we know about date, varchar, a Boolean. So therefore, this will be an extension. What that extension will allow you to do, it will allow you to convert your raw data into a numerical format. That numerical format will only have the semantic meaning and context in terms of relationship. Okay? So meaning, instead of we send that data as a plain text, we're gonna send a vector, and vector is all about dimension. So therefore, that will allow you to do any kind of similarity search. And it support indexing, right? Here's the thing. In terms of indexing, let me go me over the conversion. So I'll go me over the index after. Consider you have your data. That could be images, videos. This could be text as well, right? That's the raw data. So we require a deep learning model. What exactly is a deep learning? When you think of a deep learning, think of a mash, think of a science that is mimic how human beings think. It is a subset of machine learning because the hidden layer can be more than one. So with that, it will allow you to do more complex operations. So in our case, it's going to be text embedding adder. So what it's going to do once you provision that, to do that provisions, to do this, you require an Azure OpenAI. This Azure OpenAI service, so you have to provision it here. So once you provision it, you come here, you create one. So you can have the recommended one is Microsoft Foundry, but you can use this one as I do. So as I did, if you see here, so that's going to be your portal. Once you go to your portal, you have to go to deploy. Once you go to deploy, you have to go and deploy a text embedder adder, right? So this is it. So it's ideal to know your underlying data set, okay? Because the more you know about it, the better you will be able to know which one to choose, okay? Perfect. So now consider we provision the text embedder adder, the text embedding adder. So what that will do, it will grab that raw data, convert it into a numerical format. This numerical format is highly dimensioned. So therefore, it has anything that is close to any word. If we have to think of a female, if I put king, it's not related. But if I put queen, if I put princess, it is related. If I put wife, so the whole of that dimension is to keep any related words and provide the distance. The distance is what will give the probability distribution on what would be the next or the closest one. So once this is done, we can leverage this as a backend. When someone sent a request right there, we have to repeat these two steps. So therefore, give me a second. Therefore, the raw data will come from what that user query. And then we have to convert that into a vector embedding, match that together, then send a request to the end user. So with that, we can provide better product recommendation, question answering, and even augmented your application context. I'm going to stop here and make sure you and I are on the same page. So far, so good. Any questions so far?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
We had a small issue with the spammer that joined the meeting, so we closed the chat, but you can use the Q&A freely for discussion. The only difference is that in the Q&A, we can approve what you write, so it gives us the option not to approve that spammer. So feel free to Q&A.
Thank you so much. So seems like we are all set. There are no more questions. Therefore, I'm doing something great. Thank you for following up. So here's the thing, size matter, right? But in terms of vector, as I mentioned earlier, it supports indexing, right? So there are two types of indexing so far we can focus on. We can focus on IVF flat. So what this one will tell, it will regroup all related words together. It will cluster them together. In terms of memory efficiency, this is very great. But the things you have to keep in mind, if the underlying data statistic change, you're going to have to rebuild this. We have NSW. So for example, if we have to think of this, think of a graph. If you're looking at here how the data is related. So therefore, if your data set is huge, I highly suggest you to keep this in mind, leverage this. However, because it is designed for very, 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 very large data set, performance may impact during the indexing computation. Just keep that in mind. But here's the thing. In terms of size always matter, right? Even though we have these two type of index, what business face is performance issue if the data happen to be huge. You know, Postgres is, even though it is a relational system, it can handle very huge data set. So therefore, Microsoft came out with a DisNN, the DisNN leverage graph to look, I would say, for context and compress them. Under the hook, the leverage quantization. Quantization is different from what we call compression. Quantization is that you're losing details. It's like you have a book, okay? Then you summarize what was inside of the book. So therefore, there are a lot of information you might be missing. But the good thing is all the context that are most likely matter under this NN, it's preserved. I don't know how Microsoft did it, but the algorithm did a great work. So even though you're doing this, that doesn't impact any data privacy. So with that, you will get very lower latency and your throughput will come very high. And it is also cost effective. Under the hook, all those vectors will be stored on SSD drive. Perfect. So now how can you do the configuration? So to do the configuration, so this is SQL. We will only use SQL. So as you can see, this is your applications. This is the Postgres. You know what? Let me do this live. So therefore, you are seeing this. Okay. So in the previous architecture, let me bring this. Just give me 1 second. Let me show this to you for you to understand where is this one. Perfect. Just give me 1 quick second. Okay. In the previous architecture, if you pay close attention, You can see how complex it is this. The reason why it is complex, Tim, because they are performing sentiment analysis using large language model. Okay, and also they are performing name entity recognitions. They are performing PII using large language model. So instead, what we do, if the data is largely static, we can heavily rely on Azure AI services. When I say Azure AI services, think of language, think of translations, think of language translations, and then speech. Okay, so now let me go back here for you to see. So if I bring this guy back to do this demo, not only you need this one, this is a one-time conversion, right? However, you require language. You can come here, search for language. In that language, it will allow you to do PII information. It will allow you to do name entity recognitions, and it will allow you to do, for example, conversational uh, AI, tones, and so on. And for translations, you have to provision an Azure AI translation, because if your application is global, you will require to translate that language from one language into another. It could be from one to more languages. So with that, you require a translator. The good thing of these services, Microsoft just announced, I think on December 2025 or a few weeks ago, they're doing translation against images, and this is in preview. So with that, you don't need to worry to do complex operation even against unstructured data. Okay, so once this is done, we have language, we have translation, we have Postgres, and also we have Azure OpenAI text embedding Ada. So all we have to do is to start with our coding. So to do this, let me bring my VS Code. To do this, I have this right in front of me. I have these scripts available. All of them are available via my GitHub. So I will share that with you. You don't have to take screenshot or copy. So consider this is the database. So I'm going to create it from scratch. Okay. And I have to make sure that I'm connected. So yes, I'm connected. Okay. And I'm executing this one. Perfect. So now we have this database. We have to be under that context. Let's go under this context. Okay. So this is the context we just, the database context we just created. So now if I mouse over, it has to be our cloud data driven. Even though the vector is enabled at the server level, even though the AI, the Azure AI extension as well is enabled at the server level, you still have to enable them at the database level. That's what I'm doing here. Okay. So now what I'm doing here is to populate the data just to show you from scratch how amazing is this, because it will be a one time. So all they have to pay now is the conversion for all incoming requests, because all incoming requests have to be converted into a vector embedding and match that with what they have in their database. So this is the product. Okay, that's the definition of that product. And then this is the vector. It is ideal, for example, to create a different table and store that vector, but we can still leverage the original table. It is not ideal. So under this one, we have product ID, embedding, and then we have a foreign key. So if we notice, we have nothing there in both of them. So what we're going to do, we will populate that data. Okay, and now if we check right there, you should see we have some data. Let's return top 5. We have data outstanding. So for review, okay, so we require, because the best way to know what need to be improved is review, right? And when a customer submit a review, it is kind of a static data. There's no way they will go and update it, but that some front-end application require you to update it after a second, after if your session is not expired yet, and some doesn't allow you to do that, so you have to go submit another one. So there's no need for us to use computation or token prediction for that again. We can still use one, do the work once and reuse it a number of times and update that anytime the underlying data statistic change. That's what this one is doing. Okay. So now, and then if you notice, we have nothing there. So consider those are the review we got. And then let's insert this. And then now, if we go, we should get information. So now here's the thing, we would like to understand because within the customer, they have to do internal analysis. Okay, so doing the internal analysis, they want to see the positive score, the neutral score, and to know what things they have to leave under the backlog so they don't have to work on anything, on too much thing, and then the negative score. So this is what this table is doing, okay? So now we have this. Here's the thing. We don't want to hard code things. We will need, for example, to have a functions or stop procedure to handle the incoming. So that's the product name. So in here, we will allow them to get a summary. That's what we're doing. If you notice, we are using Azure Cognitive Recognize PII. The reason why is if we outsource our services for someone to look at the review, we do not want to share names. We do not want to share the location, the country, emails, because some people might send that information because of a ticket. They need support. They know if they attack review. You do not want to send those information. So you want to keep them and mask them while the raw data is part of your database. But when you display in it, you remove all the PII. So this is language. In terms of AI language, for summarization, there's three ways we can do that. There is extractive that allow you to extract all the key phrases, all the main topics. So the summarization will sound like a robot, but if you want it to be more human being, so you have to go with abstractive. But remember, as the intent was to save costs, so abstractive will increase the tokens because it has to be sound just like human. But even though it will increase it, the customer will still save money. So you also have to specify the language. This is what we are doing here. So if I go back and select this one and then execute this, now, if you see here, this should fail because we haven't configured the endpoint, which I'm about to show you. So if you see here, it's failed. So let's create the other one. This is the one that will give you the similarity. Consider when someone sent a request, we have to go. You see this request? Let me show you this. You see this request? That's going to be the customer. We need to match this with our embedding. So to do this, take a look. That's what we're doing here. We are converting this and then compare it with what we have. That will allow us to do product recommendation and so on. Perfect. So now if I execute this, you may notice that we have this one. Oh, let me start from here so the query doesn't have to fail. Okay, let me go back again and connect. I'm not sure why it's taking that long time. Come on, come on, come on. I'm doing it live. So let's see. Okay, pivot. Sometimes things happen. Not sure why this is stuck. So let's go and reconnect again one more time. So therefore, things happen sometimes. It is outside of our control. Where is Postgres? Come on, Postgres. Yay, there you go. So we should be able to connect 1, 2, 3 now. And then let's go back to our cloud data driven. Let's make sure this was executed as well. And then let's come back here and execute this as well. Okay, if you see here, we should get nothing there because we didn't configure nothing. As you can see, it's failed. So now let's go and fix this. To fix this, I add some notes. I had a suggestion to read. So this is where you will provision your Azure OpenAI endpoint. This is where you will provision your Azure OpenAI key. And then this is where you will provision your Azure language endpoint. That's where you will provision your Azure, no, sorry. Give me a second. This is where you will provision your Azure language endpoint. That's where you will provision your Azure language API key. So now here's the thing. I do not want to show you this. I will quickly configure this and revert it back and then show you what I have. In the meantime, if you have any questions, feel free to ask and I will be happy to answer you. Do you have a question while I'm doing this? Don't be ashamed, Tim. We are here to learn, and that's what I do for a living. So I guarantee you, if you ask question, if I cannot answer you, because I don't consider myself as a know-it-all, but I will be happy to search for that information and then post about this. Okay. So now I already configured this. Let me configure the other one. Yeah, this is configure. Let's see if it is perfect. And let me try this one. Great. Perfect. So now let me go and do the other one. Just 30 more seconds and then we should be all set. Right? That's the way it is. In the meantime, Ronan, if there are any questions, please let me know.
No, there was no question at this time.
Cool. So now, perfect. Let's see. Hey, we did it. 18, we did it. So take a look now. Now, if I select this one, I said, I love this demo, and this is the name of my model that I provision. If I go back right there, let me cancel this. This is the one that I provision. As you can see, this is the name we are seeing here. So if I select this one, what you will notice is that it will give me a number. This is what a vector is all about. This number, only the model understands it. You cannot understand it. That's the language, a large language model talks, right? So now, this is, if you're looking at here, this is the Azure language. We are using it to do what we call sentiment analysis. Take a look. I love this demo. This is lowercase. This is uppercase. What I want you to understand, it gives you a positive. If I say, I do not love, I don't love, I want you to see how things change. You can see it's negative. So all of this is SQL. We don't need to worry about that, okay? So now, here's the thing. Now we have the information. So if you're looking at here, this is, let me do this like this. Hopefully, we don't have this issue anymore. So perfect, great. So if you're looking at here, we have no information. So we will need to embed product. If you recall, we create a product vector. So we adding the product ID. We're using Azure OpenAI, create embedding. This is our model. We just provision. And then now, if I click insert, if I execute this, within next to 10 seconds, it shall be done. So now I can go and query that data. So we have 46. So you can see this is the embedding. So now I can go and join the product with the a product vector and get that information and return only 5 rows. If I execute this, you can see that now I have my information. How cool is this, right? But one thing I would like to mention as well, I forgot to do that during the creation of the table. What you may see is during the creation is that I have one brand new data type, which is vector. This leverage the entire, okay, the entire dimension. If you know your underlying statistical data pattern, you might explicitly define it. But if you are certain, it is highly recommended to add 10 or 15 or even 25. Consider if you know the dimension might be 15, pull it 40, 45, or pull it 30. Don't make it exactly the same. In case if it change, you don't have to quickly go and change your process, because if the dimension is more, it will fail during the load time or during the request time. So we do not want that. Just keep that in mind, okay? So perfect. So now we set that up. So now guess what happened? We insert that data. So what we can do now is to provide, okay, the sentiment analysis. If you're looking at here, so here's the thing. Once we receive that review, if it's positive or negative, this is one-time thing. So why do we have to recompute it all the time? We do not want that. So do we need LLM to do that? I'm not sure. Okay, it could be yes, it could be no, right? In any cases that I work, I can heavily rely on Azure AI language to do that. I don't need, for example, LLM. But sometimes you might rely on LLM. But remember, the choice is, for example, on you, understanding what business want to do, and then make sure you make a selection based on the business requirements. So now this is what I'm doing. Let me execute this. Okay, so that's just an insert that I'm doing. That insert might take, for example, 2 or 3 minutes. Let me explain what I'm doing here. If you're looking at here, I'm performing some aggregations because for each product, we may receive one or more comments or feedback. So for each feedback, it belongs to a product, right? So therefore, we have to regroup them together. So I am using Azure language to do the summarization. So the summarization may or may not sound like normal. But the thing is, if this is for internal team to review and share that information with marketing team, that would be the most efficient and cost-effective way to do it. And when you start dealing with customers, if you are a consultant, you will understand what I'm saying. If you have to, when you're dealing with outsider, okay, it might be ideal to do that summarization where you rely on large language model, because you can costume that large language model using a system message to mimic the tone of your customers. So keep that in mind. So in terms of choices, is that a question?
Yes, we have a question from Jeremy Nathan. He
Okay.
asked about cost. What is the price of using OpenAI, Postgres, etc.? If you can just give some word about prices.
So the price is all about size matter. Size matter, and then the business requirement matter, right? So meaning if I go to create a any kind of, I do not want some of my subscription IDs showing up, but let me explain it. During the creation of Azure PostgreSQL flexible server, right? So based on your size, you have to take the appropriate computations in terms of CPU and memory and storage. So cost will impact here. right? So in terms of large language model, right? If you are dealing in terms of vector, so text embedding ADA would be the preferred way. So if you're dealing with small dimension, there's no need to look for text ADA 3. Let me show this to you. I don't think my thing will show up here. So let me show this to you. Let's go over what we call text embedding ADA. So if you're dealing with, oh, sorry about that. If you are dealing with very large data set, so you pick this one, right? But if you're dealing with small data set, you pick this one, and each one have different costs. Do you understand? In terms of cost, I cannot really give you a recipe that you will use it as a future proof because the business requirement, the expectations, the underlying data set, the statistical distributions of your underlying data set, all of this matter. But the thing is, knowing your intent will allow you to pick what best for you. I'm not sure if I was able to answer your question. Yes or no? If you're speaking, you're on mute. Wonen?
Yeah, I just say that you can use your reaction if you want. So if the answer is yes, you can use your finger up. I do want to add one word about this. Just remember that using OpenAI under Azure, it's not automatically. You need a permission from OpenAI. So you will have a short one-time procedure when you try to use it, but it's not problematic.
Sure. So perfect. So now, hopefully this is done. Let's see. Yay, this is done. Now, team, if you're looking at here, this is the underlying data set. I can click here and see positive, negative, neutral, and I can show the score, team, because it's just a review. Why do we have to reprocess them, perform that same analysis again? So that's how I help them save 87% of their costs because it's internal. There's no need to personalize that information. If this is the case, this is where large language model comes in. But if this is not the case and the data is largely static, I highly suggest you to rely on Azure AI services. Okay. And perfect. So I can go analyze that data and everything. Okay. So now we have this done. So now what we can do, we can start chatting with the data. So now I can ask, you remember that functions? I'm not specifying any kind of product here. That's the beauty of similarity. If I execute this, let me make sure that I connect it because I don't want to repeat the same mistake all over again. So now, if you pay close attention, if I execute this, you can see now it's giving me all the related information. I can change it if I want to. If you see, let's say find a portable travel. The context change, okay? Take a look. I can bring this guy here. I don't need to explicitly mention any kind of product. That's the beauty of similarity search. So I bypass the limitation of SQL, even if you have to think of regular expression. Regular expression doesn't take context in considerations. So if you're looking at here, so now I can change that context if I want to. And then now, if you see, am I finished here? So, okay. And same thing for that statistic. If I want, I can, oh, this is one thing. If you want to monitor, it will tell you how many times your functions has been called. In order for you to have that, you're going to have to turn on this guy. Give me 1 second. Under this one, you have to turn on the track functions. So this has to be turned on track functions. But trust me, if you, yeah, this is backtrace functions. Is this the one? Yeah, you have to enable this. Perfect. In order for you to get this one. Perfect. So now let's go and perform some analysis. Let's connect to our data. Okay. And then let's go back right there. And then, so if you see here, what I'm doing, okay, different team, different application may require to ask that data differently. So if I select this one, what I'm doing, I'm selecting, I need to return all related product in terms of product recommendations, but this one will have duplicates. What we are seeing is that I want you to analyze the output together with me. So the equal birds is equal to equal birds light and poor. So those are duplicates, okay? So some application will require you to do it this way, right? We need to show that. Sometimes the developer might need a direction. If you go to some of the websites, you don't see such duplications to reinforce people to see the relationship. Instead, sometimes the developer might want to have it this way. Let me show you something. This one, just group them together, and then it gives you the percentage of how closest it is in terms of direction. So if you're looking at here, some of them, if you go to some of the website, especially for healthcare, when you're buying things, you want to make sure accuracy meet your expectations. You're going with costs and accuracy. For some website, you may end up to say it this way. So all of these are SQL. Come on, team. Nothing. We are using complex programming code, okay? And what happened if they need it, for example, to be kind of an array? If they want it to be an array, all those code are available. So what I'm going to do here is that I'm using that functions. It's allow me to do that and send it as a JSON. Take a look. So now this is a dictionary. Now people can go, that's a list. If you see here, people can go inside of that array and see how available. Consider if the back for an application need that information that way, that's how you can get it done. How about performance, right? So here's the thing. Take a look. If we analyze this thing, what I want you to see, this is explain. What explain allow you to do? It's allow you to understand how Postgres query optimizer think it would process this, and it will give you cost information. So if I go and execute this one and analyze this, I want you to see that. Let me take a screenshot of this for you and I to keep and see the difference. Take a look. Just give me a second. Where is it? So now I'm taking a screenshot of this one. I'm so sorry. Okay. What I want you to understand, see, is, let's put it there, is how much the cost is for sort. Okay. How much the cost is for hash aggregate. So we will not spend too much time. And the nested loop. Take a look. So if you remember, if the data is so small, stick with IV flat. If the data is big, stick with HNSW. So to do this, what I'm doing, I'm creating an index using HNSW. Okay. Here, what I'm defining the number of connections. So therefore, there are some homework you have to do to understand them, okay? And then here, I am defining the size of a dynamic candidate, okay? So, and now if I execute this, when I execute this, I could have created on IV flat, okay? But let's analyze that table. What analyze will do if you come from SQL Server, it's like reveal index, okay? So just to make sure your index has the latest information. And then now if we go with explain, you can see how much cost it is now. It coming from 259, if I'm not mistaken. Let me bring this back for you to see. So if you see here, you should be able to see it. Just give me a second. You can see here, which is 259, and then now you see it is what we call the limit cost is 172. So meaning in terms of size, you can do indexing, and remember Microsoft have this and then descendant, what I like about it is the level of compression. So remember, not only there's compression, there's quantization as well, because there's quantization, you're losing on details. Because you are losing on details, you have to take this in consideration. Just keep that in mind. But you should always try your best to take advantage of descendant. Okay, so now here's the thing, team, and there's so many things we can go and talk. And lucky me, I shrunk this demo. Here's the thing, there's probe. Probe, in terms of indexing, you have to give it a tons of value because if you're looking at here, the default is 1. That's for accuracy. If accuracy doesn't matter, don't leave it on 1. Increase it significantly. But when you increase it, you have to revisit your baseline because what I have seen, customer won't really take advantage of this. When they revisit it, they have to recreate it again. So make sure in terms of indexing, there are things you take in consideration and so on. So now let's enjoy our application. So the best way to enjoy our application is to have a front-end interface. So let's go and enable our virtual environment, okay? So that's what we are doing. Let's enable this. This is our virtual environment. And then if we go to our GitHub, just give me a second. I explain everything one by one, okay? For you to do, let me copy that code. Perfect. If I execute this code, team, it will launch an application. So this is the application it launched. Are you with me? That's the application it launched. So now I can search for any kind of things. That's how the customer will come. So let me bring this back. Just give me a second. Let me look for my VS Code. If I click here, I think it was somewhere here, if I'm not mistaken. Where are the example? If I say, show me product that offer premium sounds quality. Just give me a second. Let me bring this interface back. I can paste it here. When I paste it here, and I click submit, so remember, they require past history. So what I mean by, let me bring this back for you to see, because the customer did require a past history. So this is what we are doing right there. So this chart history just right. We implement everything. The only thing we don't have here is this two. But in here, we could have, we could automate one agent to communicate with the data, because if you don't segment your agent, things can go unexpected in terms of governance. You do not want the front-end agent to go and access your backend database. There must be a bridge, and the best way to do that is to have multi-agent communicating together. Okay, so now, so guess what happened? Why am I showing you this? If you click here, there's a history. Okay, perfect. So now consider this is what I want. So now I see the similarity. I can copy this and learn more. Is there anybody report bad about this one? Consider if you work for justice. So you want to understand, okay, those are the list of the people. Do they have criminal background, what they have been involved. Consider if this is disease, you can copy that customer name and go get information and keep a history track for that customer and do advanced analysis, you as a human, and leverage generative AI as well. So now I can go and search for that product. When I search for that product, oh, sorry about that, I didn't copy it. Let's copy it one more time. So let me make sure it is copied. So let's copy this. Let's select this. Okay. I don't know why. First time this one giving me this. This is sounds by Ultra. Okay, perfect. I'm not sure why it doesn't sounds by Ultra. Hopefully I type it right. Okay, perfect. And then if I say submit, what I want you to understand is that all my PII information is hiding. Sure. all my PII information, so I can safely send that information to any third party to do analysis because the entire PII information is being hidden. So I don't need to worry about nothing. And all of these, 80% of this architecture done by Azure AI, not large language model. The only places we use large language model is doing the conversion from raw data into a vector array, which is technically speaking a mathematical structure of your semantic meaning that come from your raw data. Okay, and then moreover, you have the score. This is positive, and then you have the score. And if you can go back and see anything that is related to that previous one, and then perform search analytics. So hopefully you are able to follow. Any questions?
No, no, good. Continue.
Perfect. So now we can go keep analyzing. For example, I can look for sounds by Go. Just give me 1 second and analyze sounds by Go and save and then go back there and then keep seeing. You can see there is no PII information. There is nothing masked, positive, and so on. So meaning you can see if I want, I can do translations. To do translation, team, so you require region to be specified, okay? So consider during the configuration. So if you're looking at here, if I have to do translation, translation will require you to provide a region. So let me bring this back and then hold on. Just give me a second. Where is it? Where is my, let me go back here. Let me go to Port, I don't want to go to Portal right there, but I have it somewhere. Perfect. So you're gonna have to provision translation from here, team. So you have to go and provision translations. And I'm pretty sure I spoke about this before. You have to go, and the good thing is you have what we call free tier that you can use, and I highly suggest you to take advantage of this. Yeah. So now, if you don't have any questions, let me go back to my slide. So you can see those are the things that we spoke about already. So to integrate Postgres with Azure OpenAI, you require to do two things. Number one things you require to do is to enable Azure AI and vector extension at the server level. Number two, the second things you have to do is to enable that extension under your database context. You will be using it, okay? So once this is done, that's when you will be able to leverage OpenAI that create embedding, and you have to provision the name of the model and then provision the vector. So same apply for example, for Azure AI services. So this is kind of a basic sample we use. We use Azure OpenAI, language translator, even machine learning. So now team, if machine learning engineering team require you to integrate the machine learning pipeline inside of your SQL. You remember how complex this used to be, how much code. If anyone come from software engineering, data and ML engineering, even ML labs engineering, knows, for example, how much code we have to create and make that integration work as expected. So now everything is built in. So you don't need to think twice. But remember, because things get easy, architecturing matter. So when you design it, you have to take governance first, okay? And then that's when, for example, costs and should come, because governance have to take priority, because definitively it's easy to do a POC, but to do it as expected is not easy. You require some extra knowledge. Yeah, and on my diagram, I didn't emphasize on API management. We leverage API management for most of the incoming calls. Okay, perfect. So now I have done the live demo. If you need any consulting services, feel free to reach out. I'm here, okay, and feel free to request your service. Either you go into Tech Insight group, or you reach out to me directly. Great. In a nutshell, this is what I have for you, and I leave a couple minutes in case if you have questions. Hopefully, I didn't speak too much, and feel free to let me know how valuable this session was. And you are happy to blog about this and thank me if you want to. Yeah. Thank you so much for joining. If you have a question, feel free to ask, and thank you, Ronen, for hosting me.
Thank you, Jen, for a great session. It's a great topic. I highly recommend people to test it, to check more the documentation. And again, Happy New Year, everyone. This was our first meeting of the year. So great to see you, and we will meet next week.
Outstanding. If you have questions, then feel free to ask. We still have a couple more minutes, and I'll be happy. That's what I do for a living, and I enjoy speaking about that. Hey, Jeremy.
We have a confirmation from Jeremy that he got your answer, and you answer everything that you wanted. Other than this, I don't see any question. So again, thanks a lot.
Yeah, thank you all. Bye-bye. Thank you, Ronen, for hosting.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.